Thank you. Secretary Kerry, I was struck by the language in your opening statement. ISIL must be defeated, period, end of story, and collectively we are all going to be measured by how we carry out this mission. From a military perspective, the plan of carrying out this mission involves a combination of the Iraqi forces in Iraq, greater, from the military perspective, more capacity, of course the Kurds, moderate rebels in Syria, and American air power, no combat boots on the ground on the part of the United States. But over the last few days since the President's made that announcement, there's been real doubts expressed by military experts over whether that strategy will achieve what you've defined as our goal. The Washington Post reported that the top U.S. commander in the Middle East advised the President that we needed a modest contingent of American troops, especially Special Operation Forces, to advise and assist Iraqi Army units. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs yesterday in the Armed Services Committee said that if local forces don't work, he would recommend U.S. ground troops potentially to the President. So my question is, if it becomes clear that the only way to achieve the defeat of ISIL, period, end of story, is for the engagement of American ground troops, will that be something the President will consider at that time?
The President will not put American ground troops into Iraq, and the President made it clear again today in a statement that he made at CENTCOM that America can make a decisive, I'm quoting the President, we can make a decisive difference, but I want to be clear, the troops that have been deployed to Iraq do not and will not have a combat mission. We believe, and we're not going to deal with hypotheticals about what happens if and this, we believe there are any number of options as to how one can guarantee the effect on ISIL long before you were to get to the hypothetical conversation about Americans. So I understand the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, whose job it is to look at it from his perspective in terms of his military and his judgment. But the President's made a judgment as Commander-in-Chief that that's not in the cards, and that's where we are.
So even if the only way, if the military experts...
I'm not going to deal with a hypothetical.
Well, it's not a hypothetical.
It's
actually, it appears to be, quite frankly, we're relying on a military strategy built on rebels who at this point are under assault not just by ISIL, but by the Assad regime, by local Iraqi forces, of which some testimonies say up to half are incapable of fighting at this stage, and Kurds that have been great fighters but are only willing to protect their territory. This is a very clearly stated goal, and why the reason why it's not a hypothetical is there may come a point where what you're saying is that if the only thing that can solve this problem is U.S. combat forces, we're not going to do that, and ISIL gets to stay.
But I think we're so far away from that quote being the only way and hypothetical. I mean, honestly.
Then let me ask you this.
No, let me just finish that quote. I mean, you know, I'm not going to get into hypotheticals, but you're presuming that Iran and Syria don't have any capacity to take on ISIL. Well, I mean, who knows? I'm not going to get. I don't know what's going to happen here.